Vasishta continued. The liberated sage, who is disinterested in the events of the past, present and future, looks at the state of the world with amusement. I think this term amusement is a little bit unfortunate. It seems to imply a degree of condescension on the part of the liberated sage. But I don't think it's that at all. It's rather like us watching a soap opera, but not really getting too involved in it because we know it's just a drama. We're still engaging in it, but not really being taken in by it. And I think we can carry on and see that there isn't anything untoward about the attitude of the sage. Constantly engaged in appropriate action, engaged in the happy medium between two extreme and opposite points of view, he dwells unremittingly, rejecting every form of conditioning or intention. So we could say that the sage actually is functioning objectively as an objective human being. Not objective in the sense that it's the word's usually used in the Yoga Vasishta in terms of getting caught up in objects. But the sage operates without any self-interest. Established in the happy medium between two extreme and opposite points of view. It doesn't actually say what these opposite points of view are, it's just, it could be, maybe it's any extreme or opposite point of view. Or maybe it's between the point of view of an individual self and a world out there. But the sage dwells unremittingly, rejecting every form of conditioning or intention. The sage isn't interested in self-gain. He rests in the infinite state of plenitude. Hence he's not agitated or excited by the events of this world. In all hostilities he's in the neutral position, yet endowed with compassion and consideration for all, he remains unaffected by the world appearance. If he is spoken to, he answers simply and suitably. If not spoken to, he is silent. He seeks nothing and he hates nothing. Thus he is not afflicted by the world. He says what is good for all, and when questioned he explains his views convincingly. He knows what is appropriate and what is inappropriate. He is aware of the point of view of other people. He is firmly established in the supreme state, remaining calm and cool in his own heart. He looks at the state of the world amusedly. Such is the state of the sages who have reached liberation while yet living in this world. So the sage could be a real asset in terms of general social matters, social and political matters, but it's unlikely most people will be interested in his advice or her advice. We are unable to expand the philosophy of the fools who have not controlled their own mind and who are immersed in the mire of sense pleasure. In other words, we're not really interested in the philosophy of those that haven't got any clue as to the nature of reality. They are only interested in sexual pleasures and in the acquisition of material wealth. We are also unable to expand the path of rituals and routines which bestow all kinds of rewards in the shape of pain and pleasure. You wonder what sort of rewards give you pain? Well, I think this is a direct assault on the notion of traditional yogic practices, yogic, religious and spiritual practices. And I wonder if you're the sort of person who believes in the virtues of performing religious practices or spiritual practices, what you make of that statement. O Ram, live in this world with unlimited vision, having firmly rejected all limitation. Inwardly be free from all desires and hopes, but outwardly do what has to be done. I mentioned before that giving up hopes doesn't lead to this state of hopelessness, which is what we think of in the West, in the Western way of thinking. A hope is another form of craving. It's the hope of fulfilment, of finding satisfaction in the external world. Examine everything and seek only that which is not limited or finite. In other words, the Brahman, turn your attention to itself, live in and appreciate your own awareness as much as possible. Live in this world constantly contemplating the infinite, without entertaining any hope in your heart, yet living as if you are full of hopes. Live in this world with your heart calm and cool, behaving outwardly like everyone else. Inwardly give up all notions of I am the doer, yet engage yourself in all activities outwardly. Thus live in this world, O Ram, completely free from the least trace of the ego sense. There is no bondage, and therefore there is no liberation in truth. This world appearance is essentially unreal, and is of the nature of a juggler's trick. The omnipresent infinite self can never be bound, so how is it to be liberated? And this omnipresent infinite self is the nature of your own awareness. It's always doing its thing, and we overlook it constantly, and we can turn our attention to it just like that. All this confusion arises on account of the ignorance of the truth. When the truth is known, this confusion vanishes like the imaginary snake in the rope. And the truth is not about belief, it's not about notions, it's not about following rituals or spiritual practices. It's simply self-enquiry, which means turning the attention onto the attention, being aware of our own awareness.